This time, the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee, who will present a resolution declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. With Jean Lisitski and those accompanying her, please join the councilman at the podium. And joining Councilman Greenlee, we have Councilman Green, Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds-Brown, and Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's important every year to continue to recognize the issue of domestic violence, how important it is, and particularly to recognize those who fight real hard every day and work real hard every day to against this scourge just in our city and across the whole country. So with that, to that end, this is a resolution declaring October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas Domestic Violence Awareness Month is being sponsored locally by Women Against Abuse, and through their sponsorship, they are encouraging everyone to help to increase the awareness of domestic violence in our homes and communities and decrease its negative effect on Philadelphia. And
whereas each year, the Philadelphia Police Department responds to more than 100,000 domestic-related calls, and domestic violence is not just a local problem, but a national issue, where more than 3 women a day are murdered by their husbands or boyfriends in the United States. Whereas founded in 1976, the mission of Women Against Abuse is to provide quality and compassionate services in a manner that fosters self-respect and independence to persons experiencing intimate partner violence, and to lead the struggle to end domestic violence through advocacy and community education.
Whereas Women Against Abuse, in partnership with Congreso de Latinos Unidos, Lutheran Settlement House, Bilingual Domestic Violence Program, and Women in Transition, the Philadelphia Domestic Violence Collaborative provides a comprehensive continuum of services to survivors of domestic violence and their families in Philadelphia, which includes housing, legal aid, counseling, medical advocacy, behavioral health services. And whereas the Philadelphia Domestic Violence Collaborative provides education, training to the community about domestic violence issues and resources, and has partnered with the City of Philadelphia to operate the Philadelphia Domestic Violence Hotline. In fiscal year 2017, more than 13,000 calls were answered through the hotline. And
whereas, to ensure a more holistic approach to addressing violence in our community, Women Against Abuse and its sister agencies are partnering with the city administration and over 70 different community stakeholders to implement shared safety, Philadelphia's response to relational violence, a citywide strategic plan to respond to domestic violence in Philadelphia. And whereas, to support a coordinated community response to domestic violence, Women Against Abuse, Lutheran Settlement House, Congreso, and Women in Transition will hold events throughout the month of October to promote knowledge about domestic violence and to build community support so that all Philadelphians will take a stand against violence. Now, therefore, be it
resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia declares and recognizes October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to representatives of Women Against Abuse as a sincere expression of City Council's gratitude, appreciation, and commendation for raising the public's awareness regarding domestic violence. This is a true and correct copy of the resolution. It was introduced by myself, Councilwoman Reynolds-Brown, Councilman Green, and Councilman Jones, and strongly supported by all members of City Council. Thank you all for all you do every day to fight this tremendous problem in our city. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
And the chair recognizes Ms. Lisitski for remarks.
Thank you, Council Members Greenlee, Reynolds, Browns, Jones, and Green, and all the members of Council. We have some good news in Philadelphia, and that is that all of our Council members are champions on behalf of survivors and towards working to a peaceful community. We are honored to be here again this year to proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as the Executive Director of Women Against Abuse, I'm grateful for this moment with all of you each year. Because while Domestic Violence Awareness Month marks another year of progress in Philadelphia's response, it's also a time to prepare for what lies ahead. With so many examples of hate and violence in our country right now, it is important to reflect on where violence begins. Gloria Steinem calls domestic violence original violence, and she reminds us that the home in our country is the single most dangerous place for a woman, that ending domestic violence is the key to world peace. As a city, we must consider the ways in which violent, coercive, and controlling behavior that for centuries has been happening behind closed doors is impacting our streets and our communities. And we must commit to stronger prevention work to abate this violence before it begins. This has certainly been a trying year as we're consistently exposed to messages of violence and hate. These messages are challenging for any of us, but have a compounding impact on victims in our city who are already struggling daily with messages that they're not good enough. What we're seeing on the news and in our streets is only the tip of the iceberg of what many people in our community are experiencing right inside their homes. And continued rhetoric of hate and unacceptance is further isolating victims, already too scared or too ashamed to reach out for help. So as a community, we must do better, and we must actively declare that violence, whether on our street corners or in our homes, is wholly unacceptable. And if you are a person who is being hurt, we see you, and we are here for you. No matter your color, your religion, your gender identity, sexual orientation, class, or immigration status. While today is an important day, as this proclamation officially recognizes Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Philadelphia, we must remember that every day, thousands of Philadelphians are experiencing domestic violence. And almost 300 of them will call the police today related to this violence. And many more will be too afraid to call. So this year, let's make the most of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Our city looks to you for leadership. And how will you raise your voice for victims of domestic violence in our community? I want to thank you for your commitment to being part of this struggle, because together we know we can change the course of relational violence and create a safer and healthier Philadelphia for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Biddies.